Welcome to the first workshop of the Ambition Emotion program this spring semester 2020. I'm so excited to have you all here, so excited to get started, so excited for you to begin the endeavor of connecting with a mentor and learning about what you want to do professionally and then getting your foot in the door with professional opportunities. This workshop and this program in general is going to help you get to where you want to be as a young professional into your career. So the timeline of the program works like this. February 11th was the cutoff date to get started. So you're already in, you've taken the first step. That's amazing. That's fantastic. This is the first workshop. So it's February 16th, 17th, and 18th, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 5 p.m. Pacific. If you're anywhere in between, that's when it is. And essentially for these workshops, I'm expecting you to watch this either live at 8 p.m., right when it goes live, or within the next 24 hours, and then post your comments to the questions that I have for you during the workshop. I will state those questions during the workshop when I'm doing our interviews with our interviewees or guests for the evening. But more importantly, I want to know that you're engaged, that you're participating with this, because we've got a lot of great content for you. So our first workshop, that's tonight, the 16th, the 17th, and the 18th. And then our second workshops on March 1st, 2nd, and 3rd at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Our first call complete with your mentor is expected to happen by March 10th. So when you're meeting with your mentor, when you're looking at, okay, what date should I have my first meeting by? March 10th is the date that you should hopefully have had that first call set and done by. Now, when you get introduced to your mentor on Wednesday, the 19th, you should reach out immediately. You should start the conversation immediately. You should not delay. I don't care what's going on in your world. I don't care if you're waiting for a career fair to happen. I don't care if you're waiting for some job interview to happen or you're waiting to hear back from some company. Get started. These mentors are here to help you. The more you delay getting opportunities with your mentor. So get started. March 22nd, 23rd, and 24th will be when Workshop 3 will happen. That will also be at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then March 28th is when you should have your second call completed by. April 12th, 13th, and 14th is when our final fourth workshop of the semester will be completed. Those are also at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then you should have your third call with your mentor on April 20th. Now, you can have more calls with your mentor. Actually, it's highly encouraged. But for successful completion of this program, for the way that we define it, have 3 conversations, at least 3 conversations. And those are just the general guidelines for when we believe that you should have those conversations by. So in late April, we will send a post-program assessment, which will allow us to capture your feedback on the program, on the experience itself. And that's essentially it. That's the program for the semester. I'm really excited to begin working with you. I'm really excited to get started. So this workshop is going to be roughly an hour long. So please post your questions in the comments area, and we will work on answering them as soon as you post them. Try to give us at least 48 hours, and you'll be notified, especially if you're subscribed to our YouTube channel, you'll be notified anytime that we respond to your comments in the YouTube channel. So anytime that you post a question, anytime you make a comment, we'll know, we'll see it. But especially questions, we will do our best to answer those as they come up. And by the way, you can ask questions both to myself or to our guests for the evening. You're more than welcome to ask both, and we will try to get our guests to answer those questions. And at minimum, if we can't get our guest to answer him or herself, we will ask our guests those questions and get their answer via email on our own and then respond to that in the comments section. So during this workshop, we're going to cover how to achieve success in this program, how to expand your network and begin having conversations with people that you want to surround yourself with, and how you can begin working towards a goal with your mentor. This specific workshop's all about how do I get my foot in the door with opportunities. This could be an opportunity for a job or an internship. It could be an opportunity to get mentored by somebody, to be an apprentice. It could be an opportunity just to learn from somebody else, to start setting up informational interviews and just building your network. Either way, this is about getting your foot in the door, because networking is not a transaction. It's not about, hey, I'm reaching out to you so that you can get me this. Like, don't get me wrong. Your end goal could be to ultimately land an internship, and that absolutely can happen, but that is not how it goes about. That's not how you go about doing it. You have to build a relationship. You have to build trust with somebody. You have to build a rapport with somebody. And you know what? It might come about. They might say, hey, my company's actually looking to hire somebody, or I know this person that you should connect with, and they make an introduction, and that leads to the next opportunity. You never know how this is going to work out, but the key is that you're not expecting it from the relationship. You're coming in grateful for whatever opportunity that can come about from this relationship with your mentor, and you make the most out of it. But I just want to say that our goal is about how do we get your foot in the door, how can we help you effectively make those relationships happen and get the ball rolling for you. So to get credit for attendance during this workshop, I'll be asking you 3 questions throughout the workshop for you to answer, and post your answers to these questions in the comment sections within 24 hours of this video going live. So if you're watching the Sunday night episode of this workshop, I'll expect you to have your comments made, your answers to the questions that we post by 8 p.m. on Monday. If you're watching the Monday night version, I'll expect your answers to be posted by 8 p.m. on Tuesday. And if you're watching the Tuesday version of this workshop, I'm expecting your answers to be posted by Wednesday at 8 p.m. After that, you will not get credit. Now, I'm not looking for a comment like, hey, my name is John Doe, I'm just checking in. That won't get you credit. I'm going to ask you specific questions during the workshop that I'm going to point out and say, hey, post your answer to this question below in the comment section. That's how I know that you will be watching, paying attention, and are engaged in the workshop. So I want to set proper expectations. This program will not guarantee you an internship. It will not guarantee you a job, getting promoted faster than your peers. Having that mindset will not lead to proper results. This is not a program that hands things on a silver platter. These are for students. This program is for students that want to take their career path and their career into the next level, to their college experience to the next level, because that's absolutely what this program can do for you. If you think like, hey, I'm going to sit back, do the bare bones minimum, not really like apply myself, you know, you're going to get the outcome that you put into it. But if you really apply yourself, you absolutely can get the outcomes that you want. I mean, I like to think about it as the law of attraction. If you come in expecting negativity, you will get negativity. If you're open to the positive, you will achieve positive outcomes. You will attract positivity to what you want to achieve. So I really want to encourage you to come in with an open mind and a positive outlook for what you can achieve, and the willingness to work hard towards getting there. Students who have gone through this program have landed jobs at places like Google and other Silicon Valley companies, Wall Street investment banks, prestigious PR and marketing firms, and major engineering firms. Absolutely, yes, that has happened many times for many students. But did those outcomes get handed to them on a silver platter? Absolutely not. It's all about what you put into this program and the outcomes that you can achieve. They absolutely are there. They are absolutely possible. You have no idea how this can come about and help you out in terms of your mentor. Treat this program as fuel to help you get to where you want to be. If you're already burning and going strong, this program can really help you accelerate. Imagine just like getting dumped a bunch of gasoline on your big fire that you're already building. If you're burning barely at an ember, let this program be a sliding point, a starting point for you to launch off. But if you think and you come in with the mentality that, hey, I'm kind of doing a couple things, but I'm kind of following the status quo of like, I just go to the annual career fairs and I apply on the online website and that's pretty much it. If you're coming in with that mentality and that you're not going to try to or be willing to open up and apply and do other things to help you get your foot in the door, this program you may struggle with, because we're going to teach you a lot of things and a lot of ways that you can go about getting your foot in the door and getting opportunities for yourself that are not the normal way. That's why this program is for the students that are really interested in taking their life, their career to the next level, because these are the tips that you are not taught in school, and the experts that we bring in, the guests that we bring in to these workshops have content, insight, and wisdom that they've utilized and explained within their books, within articles, within other pieces of content they've created that they've built an expertise on. And so the point all I'm making is that this program, if you're interested in taking your life, your career, your college experience to the next level, you are in the right place. So I'm really excited to get started. Now, a couple of keynotes about mentorship. Now, when it comes to your mentor and who you were matched with, one thing that we leverage extensively is this research called work orientation, which is how you view your work. So some people view their work as a job, some people view their work as a career, some people view their work as a calling. Imagine a triangle and imagine it being a spectrum that can change throughout your life. So after you take your assessment and after you get matched with your mentor and you log into your dashboard, you can actually see your work orientation and your paired mentor's work orientation, which is really cool. Because what we've learned is when work orientation is aligned for a mentoring relationship, the likelihood that that relationship lasts for the full 6 months is considered both productive and quality by both participants increases by 400%. It's crazy how powerful work orientation is when it comes to mentor matching. If we were just to match you based on your career interest or their status within their company or their area of expertise, we know that those are only transactional metrics, and the likelihood that that relationship will last for the full 6 months and be considered both productive and quality is low, because then there's an expectation that someone's going to give you something or that you're going to give them something, and that's ultimately not how successful mentorship works. Successful mentorship works when both people can, on a human level, invest in each other, and that's how we make the matches happen. The other key thing about mentorship is vulnerability. the willingness to open up about who you are and what you want to accomplish in your story. I know that when you are more vulnerable, you are much more likely to build trust. You cannot build trust unless you've got vulnerability first. And it's up to you or your mentor to be the first person to take that step. So I want to challenge you to be the first person to take that step, to be vulnerable first. And to give you an idea of what vulnerability looks like, I will share with you my story. Now, I'm passionate about mentorship. I'm passionate about mentorship because I needed mentors in my life. From age 15 to age 19, I was a drug dealer. And at the end of my freshman year at Indiana University, I got arrested in an undercover operation by the Indiana University Police Department. And I got 5 felony distribution charges. I was expelled from school, and I had no idea what I was going to do with my life. And I mean, that hit me like a brick wall. I mean, up to that point in time in life, I thought success was you go to school, you get good grades, you get a job, and then somewhere along those lines, you find yourself, like as if it were puberty, it would just come to me. But that's not how life works. And I had to learn that the hard way. Because no one who I had known, no one who I had ever known that I ever thought was successful ever was a drug dealer. And so I had to accept either being a total failure or redefine my definition of success. And so I chose the latter. So I ended up enrolling in a program in St. George, Utah, to help me turn my life around. And that's where I really got exposed to the power of mentorship, both on a personal level and a professional level. On a personal level, really having personal mentors, people that are there for you, are so powerful. I don't want to ever discredit that, because I feel like sometimes when we're here, we're thinking about our professional outcomes, we don't realize how valuable mentors can be on our personal level and really what they can do for us. Because if they help you open your mind to what you can accomplish in your career, or what you can accomplish as a person, and in who you can emulate your life after, they can really show you something that you didn't actually even believe in yourself that you could accomplish. And I think that's so powerful, and that's really what they did for me. But on a professional level, they helped me really come to the grips with the fact that when you Google search my name when I was 19 years old, the first thing you saw was IUPD does drug sweeps for 8. And I'm one of the 8. I mean, there could not have been a bigger red X across my name when applying for any role. I mean, could you imagine that? Literally, any role I would apply for, I would have showed up with a big red flag. That is bad. So about a month after living in Utah, I flew back to Chicago. That's where my family's from, for the weekend, to let them know my life's getting on track. On that flight, I'm sitting next to a guy. We start talking. He starts sharing with me about his life. I start sharing with him about my life. We hit it off. I take a keen interest in him. I'm actively listening. I'm sharing. I'm really trying to put myself into his shoes, and I'm really, most importantly, actively listening. I'm taking down notes. I'm following up on the things that he has to say. I'm really digging into his world, because he loves to talk about himself, and I'm really playing into that. Well, it turns out he's the director of ground equipment for SkyWest Airlines. And by the time that plane lands, he offers me an internship on the spot doing financial analysis for SkyWest Airlines. Boom. Like right on the spot. What an amazing experience. I mean, he took me under his wing. He didn't care about my background. He didn't care about what I had gone through or where I was going, or the fact that I may even go to prison sometime in the next year. He took me under his wing and gave me a shot. And that was huge. And that's really where the whole idea for Ambition in Motion came from, was like the fact that opportunities could come out of the blue, that they didn't come from just applying on a website and people putting your resume in a background check system, and that, maybe you get spit out with this opportunity. I learned that opportunities could come from just putting myself out there, being vulnerable, and taking a keen interest in somebody else and actively listening to them. And so I think that's such an important story to share with you, because it shows, my vulnerability, but 2, it shows that opportunities can come from a wide array of places, and it doesn't matter where you're coming from, it matters where you're going. And if you believe that you can achieve what you want to achieve, you absolutely can achieve it, but you have to put in the work to go and get there, and you have to be willing to be vulnerable with people. Don't hold all your failures, your mistakes close to the chest because you think people will judge you. Put them out into the world, because ultimately people will give you opportunities, and they will believe in you if you let them. So that's something that's extremely important and extremely helpful for this workshop that I really wanted to share with you. So now that I've shared my story with you, I am excited for you to embark on your mentor relationship, and I hope that me being vulnerable with you maybe it inspired you to be vulnerable with your mentor. Hopefully it gave you the confidence to be comfortable with your mentor. And at minimum, hopefully it just gave you the confidence to be comfortable with yourself and who you are and where you want to be and where you're going. Now, for this mentor program, there are 3 keys to success in this program. That is honing your strategy, your story, and your state. Now, I said those in reverse order of importance. And I'm going to elaborate a little bit about why each one of these are so important in terms of being successful in this program. In terms of your story, in terms of your state is your physical being, your physiology. Like, how are you physically right now? Are you like in a peak state? Are you ready to go? Are you jumped up, pumped up, ready to jam? Are you coming into this mentor meeting like, man, I'm about to take on the world and I'm ready to go. I'm excited. I'm amped up. Or are you hunched over? Are you in a bad body language, bad posture, in a bad mood? Something bad happened during the day. You're tired, exhausted, stressed out, whatever. If you're coming in with a negative state, I can promise you're going to have a bad relationship. Your first impression is everything. Your first impression is everything. If you come in a negative attitude because you've had a bad day, I can promise you the relationship is not going to get off to where you want it to be. But if you come in with high energy, you come in like, hey, I'm pumped, I'm excited to learn from you, I'm excited to learn your story, I'm excited to ask you questions, I'm excited to share knowledge with you and have you ask me questions, I'm excited for this relationship to begin. If you come in with that mentality, you will have a great and positive first impression. Now, there's a couple ways that you can go about doing this. One way, and my favorite way to go about getting yourself into a peak state physiologically, is to get up, shake it loose, and yell at the top of your lungs. I know it sounds crazy to do something like this, but I want you to do it right now while you're watching this video. I don't care if you're in your dorm room. I don't care if you're in your house. I don't care where you're at. I want you to stand up, and I want you to shake it loose. I want you to shimmy. I want you to let it go. I want you to scream at the top of your lungs. Just go, yeah! Just let it loose. Let it out. Let it go. Because here's the thing, when you do this, you're releasing endorphins in your brain that make you feel excited, that make you feel energized, that make you feel good, that make you feel confident, that make you feel like I am here and ready to take on the world. And when you do this, you get yourself into a state ready to be in a good mood, to leave a good impression. So I don't care what's going on with your world. If you get yourself into a state physiologically conducive to being successful, get your body language on point, you are going to be successful. Promises on that. The next key is your story. So what is the story that you tell yourself? If you tell yourself a story like, oh man, I'm an introvert, so I couldn't possibly be good at networking, or I couldn't possibly be good at socializing or being around other people. Or if you tell yourself, I'm an extrovert, I'm crazy around people, I can't even handle it right now, I'm nuts. I can't even contain myself when I'm around people. I'm just like a blabbermouth. I have word vomit. I just let things fly like crazy. If you tell yourself these stories for why you will or won't be successful, that will become a self-fulfilling prophecy. So back to what I was talking about when I said the law of attraction. If you believe that you can be good at something, you will be good at something. I promise you that. But the key is you have to believe it. And the second thing is you have to practice it, because networking is a skill, like shooting a basketball or knitting a quilt. The more you practice, the better you get. So if you think, oh man, I'm an introvert or I'm an extrovert, which makes me bad at networking, you're not going to practice networking, which is going to reinforce you being bad at networking. But if you work at it, if you practice, if you use this mentor program to meet with your mentor, someone who's got like of no consequence to you, like if you, God forbid, mess up this relationship with your mentor, what is the worst that happens? This was a total stranger that you've never met before this moment. Now all of a sudden you're building this relationship. Why not give it a shot? Because here's the thing. If it ends up working out great, it gives you the confidence to start reaching out to more people and building a better rapport with more people and building your network. And then all of a sudden you can become better at networking. You can be better at building relationships with other people. And you can be better at learning opportunities when they arise and getting your foot in the door. So the point I'm making here is, what is the story you tell yourself? What is the thing that you've got in your mind for why you will or will not be successful? And the key here is that if you do have something positive in your mind, I promise you, you are going to be much more likely to manifest that outcome for yourself. And the last key is the strategy. So what are the strategies that you are going to leverage to help you getting your foot in the door for an opportunity? Now, here's something that I like to do. I like to implement new routines every single month, because what it does is it helps me get into powerful habits. Now, some of them stick, some of them don't stick. Some of them take, a while to stick. Some of them take practice, and that's okay. But the key is that you have to start. And so one thing that I would love for you to start doing in terms of a strategy to help you build a strong routine that will help you start getting your foot in the door is if you don't have a LinkedIn profile account, get a LinkedIn profile account. LinkedIn is a powerful tool. It's so powerful. But then once you've gotten a LinkedIn profile account, I want you to connect with 10 new people in your field, not just 10 new friends or whatever. If you're just starting your LinkedIn account, friend request everybody. Get as many as you can. In fact, you should really try to get above 500 plus LinkedIn connections, because once you're there, you are much more in the LinkedIn algorithm likely to get recommended by other people in terms of connecting with them. But more importantly, I want you to connect with 10 new people in your field of interest. So if you want to get into banking, connect with 10 bankers. If you want to get into marketing, connect with 10 marketers. If you want to get into engineering, connect with 10 engineers. Connect with 10 new people every single week. And it's a really easy thing to do. Send them a personalized message. Say, hey, Jane Doe, I'm a student studying XYZ category. I'm really interested in your work, and I'm interested in potentially pursuing a career in this path. I would love to connect and maybe learn a little bit more about your work, your name. It's the simplest message. And in fact, if you go on the tips and templates tab on the AIM dashboard, you can actually see a copy and pasteable link that you can literally copy and paste to help you send this message out to other professionals on LinkedIn. But if you can get into the habit of sending 10 new people a connection request every single week, I promise you are going to start meeting with some of these people, and this could open up doors that maybe weren't even there or you didn't even realize were possible. I strongly encourage that. 70% of all job offers go to somebody who knows somebody at that company, not from just applying blindly on a college career website. I promise you that. 7% of jobs go to someone who knows someone at that company. So if you can build relationships with somebody at that company, your resume will go to the top because you were a referral, not a random stranger who applied. Build your network. So one thing that I love to do, and by the way, we're about to get started into our guest speaker, but one thing that I love to do before, to really reinforce what we're talking about, one thing that we've learned is teaching something to somebody else. So think about something that you've learned within these first few minutes of this workshop so far, or something that you will learn through our guest speaker in this workshop. I want you to think about that, and I want you to teach it to somebody else, something that you learned. And the reason why this is so powerful is because learning something in a workshop is amazing. I mean, sure, I'm on here, I'm on this video, and that's great. That's all. That's amazing. That's fine and dandy. But if you go back to bed, or if you're like, oh, that was cool, I kind of took a note, whatever, like that might stick, but the likelihood that it actually sticks increases exponentially when you teach it to somebody else. So find a friend, find a stranger, find somebody, and teach them something that you learned this evening, and I promise you it will reinforce substantially more in your brain. You are much more likely to adopt the habits that you are learning. You're much more likely to apply the skills that you are gaining. So that is the key thing that I really want to stress with you from this workshop. So I'm really excited to jump into our guest speakers. We've got a great one for you this evening. I'm excited for you to learn from our guest. So I am so excited to begin our workshop this evening with our guest. Our guest is David Elfman. So our original guest was JT McCormick. He did have a family emergency, but fortunately, my best friend, who also happens to be a senior operations and logistics manager at Uber, has stepped in. He's got amazing insight in terms of how he got to his path where he's at today, how he's transitioned into his career today, and he's got a ton of insight on how to get your foot in the door for professional opportunities, because he personally had to get his foot in the door for many professional opportunities, from investment banking to managing and logistics to many things that he was doing in college. I believe David is a wealth of knowledge. He's also, like I said, my best friend, and I'm really excited to have him here on our workshop this evening. David, thank you so much for being here.
Hey, thank you for having me, Garrett.
Yeah. So, one of the things that we're talking about here tonight is we're talking about how to get your foot in the door for professional opportunities. And so I think to begin, I would love to ask you, how did you acquire your first professional job? How did you go about getting your foot in the door for that?
Yeah, so my first job right out of college was an investment banking analyst role at Duff & Phelps, which is a middle market firm. And to be honest, it was a long process. I think that first job right out of college, if you're lucky enough to kind of have a career or an area that you're really interested in, it can be competitive. And I think it was a lot of interviews. It was hearing a lot of no's before I finally got that one yes. And it was a long process. It was, investment bank after investment bank, hearing those rejections, and then kind of finding ways to get notes from those rejections on how I could improve during the interview process, and then really incorporating that feedback, and then finally, delivering on an interview that landed me the job.
That is awesome. That's a really great story. I love that you were transparent about the rejection, because I think sometimes it's difficult. I think especially as college students, we're thinking to ourselves like, oh man, networking's such a chore, or I don't really want to do this, or oh my gosh, What if they say no? What if they don't get back to me? I love that you're talking about how like, hey, this is part of the process. You just have to get used to it. How did you get used to it? How did you get used to and accustomed to the rejection and like let it just roll off your shoulder?
It's tough. I don't think I fully have let like the idea of like rejection fully roll off. I think, that's part of you that drives you. But I think you brought up a good point on networking, because for the investment banking interviews, what happened often was, whoever was coming down to interview to Illinois would have a dinner, would have an event before the interviews, and you got to network and meet those individuals who would end up interviewing you. And one of the interviewers that I became close with was at a firm that I actually got rejected from. And because I was able to have that connection, I was able to reach out on my own and say, hey, I would just love feedback on what happened here, because I really want to get into this industry. I really want to understand, what's not going wrong. Because what would end up happening was I would get through like the first 2 rounds of the interview, and then on the final round, it would be a competitive process, and I'd always get the no. So I knew I was doing something right to get to the final round. I just didn't know what was that extra little thing I needed to get that no to a yes. And I thought this interview I had in the bag. Like, I felt confident the entire time, and I got the no. And I was able to reach out because of the networking events, because of, having more of a connection with one of these interviewers. And he gave me some really great feedback on needing to be, a little bit crisper, a little bit sharper with some of my answers. And, there was areas where I needed to be crisper and sharper, but some areas where I felt a little bit too rigid and a little like, I was rehearsing from a textbook versus giving a natural answer. And that honestly, I was a little bit behind because I was interviewing against people that had summer internships for the role. So he said it was a testament to everything that I'd done prior to get to that competitive process. But if I cleaned around those edges, I was just on the borderline of being a yes, but it's hard when they already know the work product of someone else. So I took that advice to heart, really kind of studied up on some elements, really did a lot of practice interviewing. And then literally the next interview I had, I got the yes. And that was the job that I had.
That is awesome. And by the way, I think that this can apply. Investment banking is like any other highly competitive industry. I know we've got a lot of engineers watching this right now. I know that we've got a lot of students that want to work for professional sports franchises, or in major PR fashion firms, or in the entertainment industry, or really any industry that, or if you want to go to medical school, like most industries, if you really want to get to like the top of the top, this story relates to you, because although you might not be pursuing investment banking, if you're pursuing any one of those industries that I just mentioned, they are all very highly competitive. And I love that your story is all about how you took that no, but you were able to get something out of that, as you were able to glean something. Because ultimately, so many times I've seen students where they'll get a no and they'll be like, man, I thought I was totally going to get that. I'm really tight with this recruiter. I thought we were really cool about that. What happened? And a lot of people would burn that bridge, or they would just let that bridge go dormant. You chose not to. You chose to follow up and ask for feedback. And I think that was such a really cool thing that you did. And I think that was extremely valuable. So I think for any students that are watching this right now, I think a big thing to keep in mind is that even a no can be a yes or a positive outcome. Don't just take it for what it is. Is that really kind of like the moral of the story?
I completely agree with that. And I think you're going to get no's. that's just how life is going to work. Like whether it's your first job out of college, the job that you want to do after that, you know, a promotion, whatever it may be, you will get no's in life. And I think, you know, when you're coming out of college for that first job, you might not have been in a position where you've gotten a no before. And that is tough. That is a really tough experience. I was very fortunate enough to like, you know, I applied to Illinois, I got accepted into Illinois, kind of, you know, any summer job or internship that I went for, you know, I was very fortunate where I got a lot of yeses before I started experiencing no's in that magnitude. And it's really tough when you get those no's the first time. And I think it takes a lot of effort to try to see past the no, because it's not a reflection of you as a person. It's a reflection of maybe how you performed in that process, or how you performed just that one time, or just you were unlucky. And, you know, you will not always get feedback when someone gives you a no, but you have to ask, because where you are with the no is just simply a no. At least try to get something out of that so you can improve for the next time.
So great point. I mean, yeah, I think you hit it on the head. So I think I want to take a quick pause right here. Ask the students in the audience right now who are watching this. I had a quick question for you, and that is, when have you faced the no? I'd love to learn a story of a time, and post in the comment section, of a time that you faced a no when you thought for sure you were going to get a yes, that you put all your eggs in the basket, or a lot of your eggs in the basket of getting approved or getting a yes or an affirmative, that this was going to happen, and you ended up getting a rejection. I would love to learn that story, and specifically, I'd love to learn what you learned from that. Post that in the comment section. I love to learn about those stories, because I think so often we try to guard our failures. We try to like harden around our edges to make it seem like everything's going great and amazing in our lives, but in reality, shit happens. We get rejected, and I think I love your vulnerability and willingness to share times that you have, you know, that you didn't get what you wanted, and that your willingness to work and improve to become better to get where you want to be. So,
Absolutely.
David, with that said, I know that this program is all about mentoring relationships. How have mentors played a role with helping you get your foot in the door in any professional circumstance in your career?
I would say networking has definitely played a role in getting my foot into the door for like an initial job or career. And then mentoring has allowed me to take that next step within my career. I think networking and someone who in your network could be a mentor is critical for your next role, because that's how you get, you know, your resume to the top of the pile. That's how, you know, you hear about interesting opportunities before anyone else. It's how you get an understanding of the role and the job, which can provide insight into how you should think about the interview, how you should think about the company. And I think, you know, networking can come from anywhere, any place. It can come from a night out with friends. It can come from, you know, someone that you run into at a concert. It can come in from a professional like setting. So always keeping an eye out for those relationships that are really genuine. It's not just necessarily like transactional. It's like someone that you enjoy talking to that can end up being something that really unlocks a lot of opportunities.
That's a great point. I think for a lot of students, when they think about networking, it's pretty stressful to them. And so they think to themselves, I want to do as minimal networking as I possibly can. And so it becomes very transactional. It's like, oh, hey, you don't have an internship for me? See you later. Get out of my life. But in reality, if you can build a deep rapport with somebody, you never know how that relationship can grow and develop over time.
Yeah, the way I ended up at Uber was I was meeting my now wife out at a bar, and her friends were there with some of their friends, and another woman who was there happened to be working for this company called Uber at the time. And I, had used Uber before. I was really kind of interested in the company, was just chatting with her about the company and about the, what she did there. We exchanged numbers. I was just kind of like texting her because I wanted to just learn more about the company. I was really fascinated about it. And that's when she, said, hey, there's an opportunity here. Are you interested in applying for a role? And it didn't start from like a, recruiter email or, a professional networking event. It was just me going out to the bar with my friends, talking to someone about their career, being genuinely interested in what they were doing, and that leading to this opportunity.
That's so cool. I didn't actually fully realize that full story. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that. I think that's a really great testament to being open. I think if you go out and you think, oh, I'm only going to hang out with my main core group of friends, we're only going to talk to the same people, you might be closing yourself off from opportunities that might be available. I know earlier in this workshop, I shared my story about how I got my first internship sitting next to a guy in an airplane. Like, you never know who you're going to meet and how that's going to work. It sometimes works out like in crazy ways. But it leads into the very next question I'm going to ask is, what are some ways that a college student right now can go about getting their foot in the door for professional opportunities? Do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, I think, one, it's getting to know people. I think if you really just throw your resume out blindly, that's how you get, a lot of no's, frankly, for the most part. You might get to that first interview, you might get to that first thing, but whenever there's an event where you are, networking with, someone, or like if they have a dinner or, a mixer or whatever it may be on the college campus, go to those events, and don't go to those events thinking, I want to get a job or I need to get this. Go to those events and try to just be like, do I see myself in this role? Am I interested? I want to learn more about this company or this person, because people can read into if this is just a transactional relationship. And that's what a lot of people are in those college, kind of recruiting event situations. But if they see genuine interest in what they're doing and their role, that's how you develop a relationship, and that's how you really get your foot in the door somewhere.
Yeah, great point. So that leads right next to the very next question. Are there right and wrong ways to go about networking and building a rapport with somebody and getting your foot in the door?
I think there's just general guardrails that I would say are understand that this is someone that, you want to have a professional relationship with. You've seen people at these networking events that might have a little bit too much to drink, or bring up topics that are controversial. I think just general behavioral etiquette applies in these scenarios. But I think as long as you're putting yourself out there, and I think the most important thing you can do is listen. Because in this scenario, you're trying to absorb information and get an understanding of that person, of that role, of that company. So really listening and taking in what they're saying and making sure that, you're not bullshitting, I think is another element of that. If you're listening and if you're actually not, bullshitting, because people have that sense, and that's an easy way to just end a relationship or end kind of something, is if someone senses that you're just not being authentic, then those are really the only two things that I would say, that and your general normal guardrails of behavior.
That's a very good point. I think, what's the adage? People can sniff bullshit from a mile away.
Totally.
And so that, I think, is big. And then I love the point that you brought up about general behavioral etiquette. I think that's something we sometimes gloss over, but I think back when I was 19, 20, 21, 22, I don't know if those behavioral etiquettes were as ingrained in me as they are now. And so, to be very clear, just because it's free and it's there doesn't mean that you necessarily need to consume it. That being both food and for alcohol. People
Absolutely.
are judging you. If you're at a dinner and you act like it's the first time you've seen food in days, you have probably going to give a really bad impression. If you're keep passing it, and it's it's a lazy Susan. Let's say you're at a Chinese restaurant, lazy Susan, it's passing around, you're just hawking everything. It's not going to make you look good. Or if you're just taking shots like crazy, or just drinking like a crazy person, you're going to give a bad impression. You do not want to, you want to give off the vibe that you're in control, because that's what they're looking to do. You're a liability if you're not.
Yeah. And I think the other part of it is it's important to talk and talk business and, get a sense of what the company is, but it's also important to just talk to people and connect. It doesn't have to be about, the company or the business 24/7. You can chat about the industry at large. You can chat about, something that's like going on with sports, or like, you know, get to know the interviewer a little bit, or get to know like the other person a little bit. I think, you know, showing interest in them and showing interest in like what's going on, just like beyond like this one role that I'm applying for is important. Because that allows you to establish a connection outside of, irrespective of what happens in the interview.
I think that's a really great point. I can definitely say that, I mean, in my experience, more or less, and this doesn't want to seem too like I don't know, like self-involved, but people care about themselves. Like if you choose to talk about what someone else is interested in, or what they like to talk about, or what they like to do, their likelihood of liking you is much higher because you are taking a keen interest in who they are. So I think that's one thing to really keep in mind. And then I think the other big thing is, it just, people want to take an interest in you if you've taken an interest in them. And what I constantly will see, especially from a lot of college students, and this is, I mean, and not necessarily their fault because they're taught this, but when it comes down to the whole, oh, you gotta, you know, get your elevator pitch down, or you gotta, you know, talk about you and you and you, and like you gotta have this elevator pitch. In my opinion, I'm not a fan of it, because at the end of the day, it's all about you. And if I'm an interviewer, like if you care about who I am, the interviewer, I'm much more likely to care about you. But if you're like, hey, I'm great, I've got all these things, look at me, look at that, I'm less likely to be interested in who you are. But what do you think? I mean, I think that's probably a relatively contentious point I'm making.
I mean, I think it's important to know your story and know why someone should be interested in hearing more about you as a candidate. I think something that's just like you explore more and more in the real world, like there's probably going to be someone that is probably interviewing for that same role as you that is just, or if not just as qualified or smarter than you in certain areas. Like people want to work with people they enjoy being around. And that doesn't mean you have to conform or be like someone else, or, you know, like see everything eye to eye with that person, or even, you know, look like that person. But I think you have to be personable. People have to enjoy, you know, talking to you and hearing your opinion. So like if you're just going full sales pitch mode the entire time, like just know that's the vibe that you're giving off. And that can affect how people see the relationship, how they see you thinking of them. And it affects like a lot going forward from there. So like, it's important to be authentic, and because like you want to enjoy working at whatever company you go to. So like getting to know and make that connection with someone during the interview process or prior to the interview process can give you confidence in knowing that you're a good fit for that company and that company is a good fit for you.
I totally agree. And I think that's a common misconception. You said like you're in full sales mode. At least from doing sales over the last few years, what I've learned is that the best salespeople are really the best listeners. They're frequently doing not much talking. So I think, you know, our stigma about salespeople is they're fast talkers, they're talking a lot. In reality, the people who are, and what I've observed to be the best salespeople are the ones that sit back and listen and diagnose based on what they're hearing from the other person.
Totally. Absolutely.
You know, that leads to, you know, one topic I want to talk about is, can you be too persistent? Can, like, when you're putting yourself out there to reaching out to people, could you possibly be considered annoying? What are your thoughts on that?
So I think it's important to reach out in the first place. I think understanding the level that you're reaching out to and giving time, like if you're, you know, messaging someone, not giving them 24 hours or 48 hours to respond, like, yeah, that can be a little bit too persistent. I don't think bumping, you know, a message a week, or, you know, a week after a response or 2 weeks after a response is not being too persistent. You get busy and you lose track of things when you're working. And, you know, to be honest, like someone who reaches out, who's interested in learning more, like I want to reach out to them, but it might not be my highest priority for that day. And then all of a sudden something comes up, a work emergency, a personal emergency, and you lose track of it. So it is important to like give those bumps, just like give space, because even though like you sending that email to that person might be the most important thing to you at that time, they are dealing with a lot of stuff on their own and have a lot of other responsibilities. So I think one, always send that first email. Never doubt sending that first email. And then two, if you've given it some time, given it some space, and they haven't responded, it's totally appropriate to bump it and just remind them like, hey, hoping to chat, hoping to do something like that.
Absolutely. I think it's a great point. Yeah, I think, if you send one email and then you don't get a response, especially for students in our mentor program, sometimes what I'll see is they'll be like, oh, I sent one email, didn't hear back. They'll wait like a month or two. And I'm like, what are you waiting for? This is a mentor that signed up to mentor you in this program. They're here specifically for you. There's a chance your email went to spam. You got their phone number. You got their email. You've got full permission to call them, text them, and send them a follow-up email. But I think even outside the mentor program, don't settle for just a one and done email. Sometimes it takes multiple to get through. And, but you want to be respectful. So maybe send it after 3, 4, 5 a week to just bump it up in their inbox.
Exactly. And I think as long as you're not bumping it like 3 times a day or every day for a week, it's totally appropriate to be like, hey, just wanted to make sure you saw this or would love to connect, let me know when's the best time to reach out or how to reach out. So it never be discouraged if you don't hear back after the first response, because it will happen.
Totally. So let's change topics a little bit. Let's talk about informational interviews. And I think when I say informational interviews, I want to make very clear to the students that are watching this, that is very different from a professional interview. So professional interview, suit and tie, or you're in a really nice outfit, you come with a professional notebook, you're there to interview for a specific role. An informational interview is something where you are meeting one-on-one with somebody. It's more casual. You're just asking questions to get an idea of what that role is like, what they're doing. What are your thoughts on informational interviews, and how can, I guess we'll start with, what are your thoughts on informational interviews?
Very big fan of informational interviews. I think you should always, it's different when it's your first job out of college, but once you have that, some work experience and you're looking for, a career change or that second job, it's all about the informational interview. That's how you get the information on what's the actual day-to-day like of the job. What's the, environment like? What do they do on a day-to-day basis? You'll never really get that information from a job description. And that's where it's important to have that connection, really learn about what the role is for you. And then also you get to expand your network, meet someone who's in that role, get a sense of if it is the right fit. It is such a big time saver if you realize this isn't the right opportunity for me via an informational interview. And that is just as successful as finding out this is the greatest opportunity and I want to pursue it, because that is time. And your time is very important, and understanding if something's the right fit and if something is the right opportunity is so critical. So, informational interviews, always think of, I give a lot of informational interviews. If someone reaches out and say, hey, can you hop on the phone and chat for 15, 20 minutes about what you do? We'll almost always say yes. It's always good to kind of take that initial call, and it's a very easy, low touch way to learn more about a role. And I think, it can be something as simple as a 15-minute phone call. It could be something as, a little bit more set up, such as coffee in person. But it's always, a little bit more laid back, where you get to really find out about what's actually going on at the company and what the role is about.
I love that. And you're so right. And you've also been very entrepreneurial at Uber, where you started at one level and you've consistently worked up your way. I love just to learn a little bit how maybe informational interviews and just conversations help lead you to get promoted into multiple different roles within the same company.
Yeah. I mean, I have a lot of mentors within Uber, people that I chat to time about what I'm working on, what they're working on, problems that we are having within the company. And it allows you to kind of have this space where you can really bounce ideas off of someone and learn about opportunities that are coming in the pipeline, or, just kind of, sometimes you just need to vent to someone and at a company, and through that venting, you can come together with a solution. So I think even internally, it's not necessarily informational interviews in the same sense, but it is in regards to you're getting to really know someone, know their area of the business. They can think about opportunities that might make sense for you and put your name in for something. It's really just your internal network that is just as powerful as your external network within a company, especially at a larger company like Uber.
That's awesome. That's a really great perspective. Because a lot of students here watching this are in the process of looking at bigger companies. And so, I think I want to take a quick moment here, ask the students in the audience watching this right now. I want to ask you if you've had an internship before, or if you've not had an internship, but you're about to start an internship, what do you want to ensure that you do to ensure that you are expanding your network? Is there something that you want to do? Maybe you set a routine, a goal of meeting 3 new people every single day in the office that don't work in your department. Or do you have a goal that you want to set for yourself? I'd love to learn about that. Post it in the comments section. I'd love to learn what is a goal that you have for yourself about, what you want to do to be intentional about expanding your network within the workplace in your first job or internship. So, David, especially for a lot of students that don't have a big network or aren't obviously working for a company, they have to maybe start with a social media like LinkedIn. What are your thoughts on LinkedIn?
I think LinkedIn's awesome. I think it's a great way to reach out. It's a great way to connect with people. And I think something that people can utilize LinkedIn more for is you can start creating, like, I guess you can call it your brand, or like allow people to learn a little bit more about you. You can use LinkedIn if you see a really cool marketing campaign, if you have your opinion on how something's going, if you read a really interesting book, like business book or just book in general, and have like insights that are kind of more business focused or career development focused or whatever it may be, something that's kind of like in the LinkedIn sphere, post about it. That's how you kind of start building your brand, building your connections. People start interacting with your posts, and that's where you might find an opportunity that you never knew existed, because people all of a sudden keep you top of mind. Because people are scrolling through LinkedIn now. At the end of the day, it's a social platform. It's like a social platform that is more business focused. So if people start seeing your posts and are like, wow, these are really interesting, these are really insightful, or I didn't think of something that way, I don't necessarily agree, but this is an interesting, different take. It's amazing on what opportunities that open up for you in terms of, people all of a sudden thinking of you top of mind when a new role opens up, or thinking of you when they see something else and reach out to you. So I think utilizing LinkedIn not only as a way to facilitate connections, but to also kind of build your brand and kind of, have you be top of mind for other people as well.
So true. I think that's why advertisers pay so much for advertising space. I mean, you see those little ads on the side of like websites and like, different parts, like they're paying for that ad space. There's got to be an ROI for that. And I think the answer is that, of course, there's ROI. If you see something enough time, you're much more likely to actually want to be around that thing, whether that be a product, a service, or you as a potential employee for their company. So I think posting on LinkedIn is a great way to get yourself in front of people and be top of mind, like you said. So I love that. One last question that I wanted to touch on, because I think this happens with a lot of students as they're learning new things about their path, or they're learning new things from what they want to do. It's easy to feel like, okay, well, I told somebody I wanted to be a lawyer. I then had an informational interview, realized I don't know if I want to be a lawyer. What do I do? I've told mentors about this. How can I deal with a mentor relationship, or how can I continue to build my mentor relationship as my career interests change?
Yeah, I think kind of like something that is like a fallacy about mentor relationships is like they're only interested, you should only maintain this relationship, or this person's only interested if you have this one career path. And really, mentorship is 2 individuals that really care about each other and growing together. So it's not just about, hey, this was someone that mentored me through law, like I can't have this relationship with them if I don't want to be a lawyer anymore. No, this is someone that you built like a genuine connection with and are probably interested in you irrespective of your career. And guess what? That person who's in law probably knows a lot of people who all of a sudden stopped liking law or wanted to do a career change outside of law. So I think if you just are open and honest about your relationship, or about like what you're thinking about, where your head's at, 1, that person may be able to help guide you to what that next step might be. And 2, they might give you that opportunity for that next thing that you're more interested in. I wouldn't shy away from what you are and what you're interested in doing and kind of what you see as the next steps in your career. when I had a internship in private equity, and I went to investment banking, and kind of my path I thought was going to be investment banking to private equity. When I was in investment banking, I realized this wasn't really the fit for me. I don't know if I want to necessarily be in finance. I kind of like how these companies are running and want to get more on the operations side. When I was interviewing with Uber, one of kind of the mentors / connections I had at the private equity firm I interned at, I really chatted with her and him. It was two different individuals about the opportunity at Uber. Does this make sense? Like, would this, I think something that when you're early on in your career, you think something might limit you later on in life. And it was a really important validator here from them. No, this is actually a really great opportunity. It actually can give you a fuller skill set. You know, you might have to go through a different path if you want to get back into private equity, which at this point, not as interested in, but it, you know, it was a concern at the time. And being honest about where you're thinking, where you want to go, can help lead you to the right answer long term if you're talking to your mentors, and if you have that, and as you can, and helps you continue to keep that rapport with important people in your life.
I love that, man. You are a wealth of wisdom. Literally, so many nuggets you just like outlined. One, mentorship is people oriented. It's not like what you're doing. That's not the reason why they're interested in you. They're interested in you because of you as a human being. Two, share your goals with people and share what you're thinking, because the more honest, transparent, and vulnerable you are with them, the more likely they are to put you in the best position to thrive and succeed. And that goes for managers, that goes for mentors, that goes for anybody that you respect and you want to keep a relationship in your life. Because I think the more communicative you are with them, the more likely you are to be put in the best position to succeed. So David, that was fantastic. One last question I want to ask the students in the audience that are watching this right now. You all are about to embark on your mentor relationships. I'm so excited for you all right now. What is a goal that you want to work towards with your mentor? Post in the comment section. I'd love to learn what you are interested in working towards with your mentor over the course of this semester. I'm really excited for you all to embark on this mentor relationship. I'm so grateful that, David, you could be here on such short notice. Super appreciative. I thought your wisdom was fantastic. Thank you for being here.
Hey, thank you for having me, Garrett. And apologies for those listening if I was rambling, but excited to kind of, you know, share some of my experiences, and I hope that, you know, you get something out of it today.
I thought they got a lot. I thought you had a ton of great wisdom. One quick question, David. If any students want to follow up with you, if they have a question, if they'd love to touch base, how can they connect with you?
Connect with me on LinkedIn, and then feel free to send me, you know, I pretty much accept all those LinkedIn requests, and then send me an email and we can, you know, connect either via email or on the phone after that. But let's start on LinkedIn and we'll go from there.
That's perfect. Awesome. David, thanks for being here. Students, thank you all for being here. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your night. And good luck meeting with your mentor. Do not delay on meeting with your mentor. Get going. Get that ball rolling. That's how you can get the relationship started, and that's how you can start working towards your professional outcomes. Have a good night, everybody.